Hey, everybody. Welcome to Odd and Untold, the podcast where we talk about all things strange and spooky. And this week, joining me, the host of the Induced Fear podcast, my buddy Oscar. Oscar, thanks for coming on, man. I've been on your show and we've been trying to do this again, and we've had some hiccups,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy to be here, man. We were trying to get it going for a little while. Then my dog had his issues and everything is good now. Everything is good
good,
now,
good.
which I appreciate you putting a prayer out there for the pup.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I
So
mentioned it a few
appreciate
episodes
that.
ago, just because, yeah, the day we were supposed to record, your pup, Fang, I believe his name is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful dog, by the way. I seen you
Thank you.
put
Thank
post
you.
pictures of him on Instagram. But yeah, he got into a little bit of trouble, and you
Yeah.
guys are at the vet, which I totally get. I mean, when you have an animal, like they're your family, when they get sick, and you're gonna worry about them. So,
Yeah.
um,
But he does that. I think he does it on purpose. He likes the attention.
how old is he?
He is a year and a couple of months, I think, a year and
Okay,
five
so
months, maybe.
yeah, so still kind of a puppy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Psychopath is what I like to say.
yeah, and I mean, at that age, they're getting into everything, and I know my dogs, like once they hit like three, they kind of like they chilled out and they calm down. But those first couple of years, they're just rambunctious and they get into everything. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you got another year and a half probably.
But I'm happy we're able to do this now,
Oh
man.
yeah, yeah, me too, definitely. So yeah, can you just tell everybody a little bit about your podcast, and then I also want to get into like what I call your paranormal origin story, like how you got into the paranormal and how you got into podcasting and just into all of this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Induced Fear came off of years of thinking of trying to do a YouTube channel of those top five spookiest videos type thing, and then it never happened. And then around the same time, everybody started to do podcasts, That's when I was like, oh, so this is a thing going on right now. All right, let's do it. Let's just jump on in, dive into it. And yeah, it went from just talking about stories to more so now interviewing people who have paranormal experiences. I think that's an aspect I really love about it. It's just talking to people, much as like when you came on, it was
Hmm.
talking about your experiences and then kind of just this whole free form conversation that happens when it comes to talking about these things, because then it makes you feel more at ease and you're able to jump into more esoteric things and not just strictly to the story that has been told beforehand. But that's what I love about it. And that's what Induced Fear has come to be. And it's more of our tagline is ask questions and face your fears. So it's more so like, don't be afraid to ask the questions. If something weird happened to you, ask what is that? What's
Hmm.
going on here? And then just dive into it and figure it out.
Right, right. And yeah, and it's become just such a much more widely accepted thing now. I think the paranormal, whereas before it was a very sort of hush hush thing. You didn't tell people if you had an experience.
Yep.
It was something you sort of kept to yourself. You may have told like maybe one or two close friends or a spouse. But nowadays people will go on podcasts and share their stories because they know they will be believed, they will be accepted. And of course, there's always going to be the ridicule out there from certain segments of the population, but I think overall it's just a much more widely accepted uh,
Yeah, it's
topic
what they
these
like to
days.
call now a safe space for it.
Right, right. So how did you get into the paranormal to begin with? Like I said, your origin story. How, like, what got you into the paranormal initially?
Well, initially it would have been my Nino, my godfather. He he was the type of person like I mean he's not was he still is. He's the type of person who tells stories. He would tell us ghost stories all the time if we drove past certain parks or buildings. He would say, "Oh, that place is haunted," which then in turn would have me saying like, "Why? What's the story? What's going on? What do people see?" Um, and he would share it. He'd be like, "Well, this happened here," and it was always the classic stories of, "Yeah, this person went crazy and like murdered these people here, and now it's haunted by them." And sometimes you can see the murderer walking around like in the night. So initially, it was those things that happened that well he would share, and then he would take us there, walk around those locations. Um, Nothing would ever happen as a kid when he took us there. I think it was mainly just stories to kind of scare the kids.
Hmm.
Um, but it drew me in, and then again, there's those uh, ghost hunting shows, the TV shows that popped up at the time, and I was like, "Whoa, this is a thing." Okay, and eventually it came down to um, when I was about 5, 7, I believe. Uh, my father had passed away,
Mm.
and I remember just as a child, you're like kind of like, what's going on? You don't know what to make of that situation. And I remember just one night I was just like putting a call out into the ether, like whatever it is, just let me see my dad one more time. I don't care what side it is on, whether it be good or evil, whatever can make it happen, make it happen. And which you learn is a bad thing to do, just kind of put that call out into the ether.
Right.
Um, and then eventually things just started to happen, and I would be asleep and I would hear noises, or sleep paralysis would start to happen. And again, as a kid, I'm like, what is going on? What the hell is going on? And trying to wake up my brother, who we shared a room at the time, and him being knocked out. But also in that time, anybody who has experienced sleep paralysis knows it's paralysis. You're not moving. You can barely like take a breath of air or say anything. And it just was this overwhelming darkness that kind of filled the room. Um, and not being able to move. And every time I tried to yell for my brother, it was just like, and whatever air I had left in my lungs was just coming out and nothing was coming back in. And eventually I just broke out of it, sat up straight in the bed, trying to catch my breath, looking over to my brother who was sound asleep, and then just turning on our box TV and leaving it on static and just sitting there with that light filling the room because I also didn't want to turn on my light and get in trouble as a kid, like
Okay.
being up too late in the middle of the night. Um,
I'm guessing you
but
never
yeah,
saw
then that just
Poltergeist as a
started.
kid then.
No, it was way before then. Yeah, it was way
Yeah.
before that. Because I did end up seeing it later, and I was like, oh, maybe turning on the TV wasn't the best.
The best idea.
I don't want
Yeah.
a there here moment.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, then it started to progress as years went on. It wouldn't happen like every single night, but I would know when it was going to happen.
Hmm.
So I'd be laying in bed, and who knows what it really could be, whether it's me being over stressed out as a kid, because as a kid, losing your father is like a drastic change in your life and a big
Oh yeah.
event that kind of shakes everything up. So it's high stress, not knowing what's going to happen in the world anymore. But also, it's like I could feel this heaviness enter the room, hearing the sound of like a low static. I always
Hmm.
describe it as the sound of silence because it's like I can hear the silence in the room, if that makes sense. And then I would just get that dread kind of washing over my whole body.
Hmm.
And the thing that was weird about it was it only happened if I made eye contact with the shadow in the room. It would never just happen. I wouldn't just wake up and there'd be something there.
Hmm.
It's only if I ever made eye contact with it that as soon as I made eye contact, I was stuck and not being able to do anything. And it just kept happening throughout the years, just happening and happening. And then the age of the internet where everybody has like internet readily available, I start to look up things,
Hmm.
like, does anybody else experience these things? Does anybody else do this? And then it opens a world to everything
Hmm.
that's happening in the world. And yeah, then those are those moments that really drew me into the paranormal. And then had me asking questions all over the
Hmm.
place. I mean, it started to happen more and more as years went on, and I started to, in a sense, become used to it. Because then it was, all right, I know now that if I make eye contact with it, I'm going to go into sleep paralysis. I don't want to do that. I feel this feeling in the room. I'm just not going to pay it any attention. I'm not going to look at it. And that ended up working for a while. It's like, all right, I didn't give it any mind. Almost like Freddy Krueger, Pennywise, any one of these like creatures that if you don't give them the power of fear, then they,
Right.
that's what it felt like at the time.
Hmm.
Um, until probably 2018, 2019, we had just moved to Colorado.
Hmm.
And I remember, again, high stress situation. We just moved from New York all the way over here, drove 26 hours.
Wow.
And I just remember just being tired, laying there on the couch, kind of both watching TV and just doom scrolling on the phone at the same time, you know, which I don't recommend anybody to do. You don't want to kill your brain. Uh, but I remember my fiance getting up and she was already in the bedroom.
Hmm.
She got up, walked into the hallway, and then as soon as I asked, "Are you okay?" she just turned right back around. So I got up, was walking right behind her. The place was small. I'm walking right behind her. I'm like, "Are you okay? Is everything all right?" And then boom, door slammed right in my face. She's walking in.
Mm.
I open it right after her, and she's asleep in bed already, fully
Wow.
knocked out. So I go, "All right, weird." I could chalk that up as paranormal. I can chalk that up as rotting my brain for a couple of hours watching TV and scrolling on the phone while I'm super tired. And then I laid back down on the couch. And as I was looking at my phone again, I just hear boom, 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 like steps walking towards me. As soon as I make eye contact with it, sleep paralysis. And I'm stuck
Mm.
in sleep paralysis on the couch. And that was a time that it felt intelligent in a way. Like almost
Hmm.
like it was like, all right, you're not paying attention to me.
Right.
You're in a vulnerable state right now. I'm going to kind of trick you into into getting
Looking at
stuck
me.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then it hasn't happened ever since then, ever since I kind of like went full into this world
Hmm.
and started to like understand things a little bit more. I mean, I'll never have the answers. I don't think a lot of us will ever have the answers 100%, but I can understand a little bit and I can just say, all right, you got me there.
Right.
That's fine. You got me there. It's not going to happen again, though. It's not going to happen again. Uh, but yeah, those things, sleep paralysis is the main thing that kind of pulled me in
Hmm.
to this world. And other things happened along the way, but it was sleep paralysis mainly
See,
that
and
really,
the way you're describing it is not how most people experience sleep paralysis. Most people,
yeah,
it's when they're waking up. For you, it almost sounds like it's as you're going to sleep. If I'm hearing you right, it's almost like
yeah,
you're falling asleep or you're in bed, and then a dark figure comes in or darkness. So I'm not sure. Is the
yeah,
room getting dark, or are you seeing like a figure?
yeah. It's well, the room is already dark, but it's the figure that is darker than the room.
Hmm.
Like I think everybody would also describe it as that same kind of darkness. It's like darker than the darkness of the room.
Right.
Um, but I would feel the presence come into the room beforehand. It was like just heavy weight, like the air got heavy for whatever reason.
Hmm. And I mean,
Um,
this almost sounds like a shadow person or the Hat Man that people talk about.
yeah,
And that's interesting to me because you'd think like as a child, if you're 5 or 7, your father just passed away, and skeptics will come in and say, "Oh, you know, you're manifesting this. If you want to see your dad so badly, you're going to see him." And if you were saying, "Oh yeah, I was in bed and the ghost of my dad came to me and talked to me," like I think skeptics would say, "Well, that's just your brain saying." That's comforting you. You're kind of manifesting
yeah,
it. You want to see it, so you're seeing it. That's not what you're seeing, though. You're getting this like bad feeling about it. It's dark. It doesn't sound like your dad. And then you're going into the
no,
sleep paralysis. which is kind of the reverse of how, because I've had sleep paralysis and it's always when I'm waking up. It's never when I'm falling asleep. I have other things happen when I'm falling asleep. You had that thing like where you jump, you kind of feel like you're falling or whatever.
Yeah.
But most everybody I know who's had sleep paralysis, when they're coming out of sleep, like they're waking up and their eyes will open, or they'll be awake and they can't open their eyes, they can't speak, they can't move. Uh, and that's what freaks them out, is because they're waking up and then they're just like, I can't move. So yours is very interesting in that it's kind of the reverse.
Yeah, and I always took it as in because my initial thought when I first saw like this shadowy figure in the room was I was like, all right, there he is.
Mm-hmm.
But then it felt off. I was like, no, wait, no, it's not. Because also my mom would tell stories of if any time there was a random like penny or a coin kind of like that would just came out of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
my mom would say things like, oh, that's your dad leaving something for you to let you know that he's there. We
Right.
also had these robot toys that would go off by themselves. Even if you remove the battery from them, they would go
Mm-hmm.
off. And my mom would say, don't be scared. That's just your dad trying to let you know that he's there. He's trying to play with you or whatever. Which in my head, I'm like, that's still a little scary.
It is. Yeah.
I don't think that helped the situation. uh, but because she was also very against it. Like
Mm-hmm.
anything paranormal was also that's devil stuff. That's what she would always say. Um, which in turn could be, can't, there's levels to these things. There's differences between people's stories. Um, so I think that's what confused me
Mm-hmm.
as a kid. It's like my mom saying, "Oh, this is just your dad saying hi." Also, this is also devil stuff at the same time. I'm like, I
Right.
don't know.
Right. um, yeah, I want to come back to that in a second, but just your story about your fiance. I mean, that reminds me, a buddy of mine had a very similar story where he was staying over his girlfriend's house, and it was the same sort of thing. Like he kind of saw her walk down the hall and then like got up to go check on her and she was sleeping. So, and there was like no way she could have crossed that distance. And we hear
Yeah.
stories like that a lot. Uh, so yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that like, as you're telling me that, I'm like, this sounds very familiar in a way that you don't hear too often. But I was like, yeah, that's happened to somebody else I know. Um,
Yeah, no, that one was definitely a weird one for me because again, it was like just a different thing that has never happened before, especially after years of from I don't know, 7 to 20 whatever I was at that
mhm,
time,
right.
Uh so it's just like there's a long gap between things and then it's like, all right, this is high stress. You just moved across the country. I got you now. Type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very strange. Um, and yeah, you mentioned your mother, and a lot of people are like this. If they're religious, the paranormal is not to be spoken about. It's the devil's work. It's satanic. It's demons. It's not the ghosts. Like if you're religious, and not all religions, but like I was raised Catholic, so Christianity, a lot of that is, you don't believe in ghosts. You believe in
Yeah.
God, and like when someone dies, they go to heaven, or if they're really bad, they go to hell, and they're not
Yeah.
here on this plane anymore. And if they are, we don't believe in that. But I think there's been this shift with religion to, people can be religious and still accept that maybe there are paranormal things. Um,
Yeah.
so do
I
you
mean,
want to
that's
talk
how
about
it has
that a little
been
bit? Because
for
I,
it's been that way for me as of lately. As a kid, I'm always been the type to push against, when you're a kid and you're kind of like forced to go to church, forced to attend these things and all that stuff. It's within your nature to kind of rebel at a certain
mhm,
state. But as I've gone through my own journey and kind of accepted the fact of things of like, yeah, okay, I can be Christian and I can like talk about these things. Like, I mean, sure, it is within the Bible, it is like frowned upon to like converse with the dead and
mhm,
things, because there's even a Bible verse. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm not an expert when it comes to it, but there is a story within the Bible where somebody goes to some kind of medium and has them contact somebody from the other side, and that ghost comes forward, the spirit of this man, and says, "What are you doing? Like, don't do this." You know? So it's like, okay, so that does kind of correlate with there are spirits
Mhm.
within this world. And this one's just saying, like, don't do it. Don't do it, man. Like you're fine. Like just don't. But it does show that people do have experiences with spirits. Like it shows that spirits are a thing. I mean, the Bible itself, when you read it, it's a very supernatural thing when you're going through it. So to deny the paranormal and the supernatural is kind of like a weird thing for me, but that's my like my feeling on it. Um,
Yeah, and I think a lot of us, because I know I had that issue growing up too. It's that cognitive dissonance of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, and the angels,
yeah,
and demons, and the devil, but then it's like, but there's no such thing as ghosts.
yeah,
So you're sort of like, but the Holy Ghost, you talk about it, the Father, Son, the
yeah,
Holy Spirit, like you're talking about ghosts, you're talking about literal angels and demons, but then in the same breath, you're saying they don't exist. So that's very hard to reconcile, especially when you're being taught religion in like your formative years. You're 13, you're trying to figure
yeah,
out the world, and then you're being told these two sort of mutually exclusive things of that there's a God, there's a devil, but there's no ghosts, there's no spirits,
yeah.
but the spirits
There's
go to heaven.
spiritual warfare, but there's also no spirits. Like,
Right, right. And but grandma's spirit is in heaven now,
yeah,
and you're just like, well, I thought there were no spirits. So yeah, there is that sort of dissonance there that makes it
yeah. So I
confusing.
mean, now I'm in a stage where I can like accept like and really take on my beliefs as being a Christian. And also it doesn't mean that I'm like for me, I made a video a while ago, but it was that I was no longer going to be kind of doing paranormal investigations and collecting haunted objects, which I did before. But it didn't mean that I wasn't going to talk about these things because I do know, even from my own experiences, I do know that these things happen. I do know
Mhm.
that there are weird things within this world. So I can do both. And
Right.
so it's okay.
Yeah, and there's an interesting dichotomy there too. Like people tell you don't use Ouija boards because you're talking to demons, you're talking to spirits that were
Yeah,
never alive or they're tricksters. But then these same people will just go ghost hunting, and so you're not using the board, but you're still
exactly.
trying to open this door or this communication
Yeah.
pathway. And how do you know that what you're speaking to, if you think Ouija boards are the gateway to demons, then why is it okay to sit in a room and with a K2 meter and just say, hey, if you're here, knock on the wall? Or you're using a Ouija board and saying, hey, if you're here, spell out your name or knock on the wall. Like, uh, and and there's all sorts of rabbit holes you can fall down about,
Oh yeah.
respecting the dead. And, because it's, if somebody just dies, I remember there was this whole controversy, like when Ozzy died, and there was like these YouTubers who were trying to
Oh
contact
yeah.
him, and it was like the day after Ozzy Osbourne died, and
Yeah.
they're on YouTube and they're like putting this out there clearly for clickbait, and clicks and views, and people are like, well, that's offensive, and that's but like, what is the statute of limitations after someone dies, um,
Yep.
to go ghost hunting, because people will go to cemeteries, they'll go to these places and try to contact the dead, but when somebody's trying to contact Ozzy the day after, that's
Yeah.
disrespectful. So there's a lot of gray areas here in ghost hunting and paranormal
Oh
investigating.
yeah. Yeah, I always felt that way. Especially when it comes down to just kind of I never really felt that a Ouija board kind of had like this thing, especially when you learn the actual history of the Ouija board,
Mm-hmm.
then you're kind of like, all right, like it's not exactly what they say. Um, it is nothing different than having a recorder in your hand and saying, if there's a spirit here, please let it be known. Like those things are the same in to me. It's just like one is digital and one is like more analog. That's it. You know?
Right, right. And that was my thing, because some
Yeah.
people buy the Parker Brothers version, you know, and then some people just take a glass and they'll use cutout letters on the table.
Yeah.
But what is the difference between the board, the glass, and like you said, a recorder? It's still the ritual. It's still you're sitting there. It's still you're trying to communicate with something,
Yep.
opening yourself up to it. I'm not saying it's real or not. I don't know. I've had my own experiences that push me in a certain way of thinking. um,
Yeah.
but
And that's not me. That's not me to say like to tell anybody like you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. It's just that if you kind of just think about it, they're the same thing. And I think the core thing that I would like to say is just like be careful on
mhm,
what you do because you could go in there with the best intentions, but either way, you're putting this call out for spirits to come forward and talk to you. And it could be as simple as just getting a knock, or you
mhm,
could have people. I've had a friend who ended up having something follow him, and come back home with him, and it kind of played with his head. So it's like those are those things. Like he never had an issue until that moment,
mhm.
and it's just about kind of protecting yourself in those aspects. And that'll
Yeah.
go for anything, really, when it comes
Oh,
to the paranormal.
yeah, exactly. You go looking for something, just, be sure that you want to find it. Like you said, you put that
Yeah,
call out there, you don't know who's going to answer. Just because you're calling, for grandma doesn't mean grandma's going to be the one who shows up and says,
yeah,
"Hey, I'm here." It could be anything. And yeah, I've heard stories. I've had my own experiences that, and again, I'm not saying it's definitely a ghost or definitely paranormal, but there are certain things that happened with the board that I'm like, I can't explain that.
yeah.
Um,
There's,
so,
I mean, there's even when it comes down to, I was taking in haunted objects, and it only happened because a friend of mine, um, ended up. He had a friend who was a photographer. They bought a doll.
mhm,
Weird things started happening with this doll. They didn't want it anymore. He just so happens to mention my name, and they're like, "Here, if you want it, take it. I want nothing to do with this doll." When I got it, nothing really happened.
mhm,
And it's kind of this porcelain doll that when you wind up, it'll play music. So they would always say it plays music on its own. It'll like watch me while I sleep. Never had any of those things happen. And with those music boxes, it's like just kind of like a step
mhm,
can kind of set them off to kind of click one more time
right,
um, to play music, and nothing ever really happened. And so I let myself get comfortable with that notion of like nothing's gonna happen.
mhm,
I'm a skeptical believer when it comes to these. I try to go things about things rationally. So I'm like, I don't think anything's gonna happen with this doll. So I think it's perfectly okay. And then I take in other objects, and then I go searching for said haunted objects. And one time it was just kind of this unassuming piece that we got, and it was what is it called? Is it the maniple that kind of whatever fabric that drapes over the priest's
oh
arm
yeah,
when you're
yeah,
taking communion and they use it
mhm,
to wipe the cup? Very ornate. Um, we ended up buying it at a kind of like this oddities and curiosities festival, because we got tons of those things here. But we ended up getting this, and we just thought we have kind of like old religious items that we collected. So it's
okay,
like vintage looking crosses, things of that sort, communion cups. And we ended up, I was like, oh, we have a communion cup and a whole thing. Like, we'll just put this next to it to kind of accentuate the pieces. We get it, come home at the moment, just kind of throw it on the dresser, and we throw it next to these broken pair of light up devil horns, the kind that you'll buy at an event and that will stop turning on
mhm,
like 5 minutes after you've bought them.
right,
So they stopped. They died. They didn't work anymore. And 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, it's just the light is filled. The room is filled with this red light. And I was like, what is going on? Kind of like much like behind me right now. The room is filled with this red light. Um, and we both kind of get up and we're like, that's weird. I was like, I guess they're working now. And I kind of just like shake them a little bit, click it, back and forth, and then they turn back off. So we think nothing of it. But as I go to work and my fiance would go to work later, or she would be home that day or what have you, I would get these constant messages of, I hear people walking around in our place. I hear like banging on the wall,
Mm,
and things like that. And we lived in a condo area. So in my head, I'm like, you're fine. You were freaked out about the red light. Um, but we have people around us. There's people below us. There's people on the side of us, things like that, trying to rationalize it.
mhm,
But she is increasingly feeling more scared of it. And she's like, no, I know what it sounds like when people are walking by. This sounds like somebody in our place. And then it all kind of, she kept having like weird nightmares.
mhm,
And one day she just, I'm going to say bye before I leave because I usually leave earlier. And she's crying. She woke up and she's just crying in bed. And she's like, I had the worst dream I've ever had in my life. I saw what it is. I saw what it is. It's ugly. It's that thing. And she points towards the thing that we bought at the Oddities Festival. She says, it's that thing. It's that thing. Please don't go to work. Please don't leave me here with it. So I end up calling out that day and then talking to a bunch of people and trying to figure out what I can do. And it all boiled down to me kind of telling her go into the other room, me doing like an at home kind of like exorcism. Whatever I was doing, I was just like saying prayers and saying for this, whatever this is, to leave us alone, to stop, mainly for what I was thinking was to protect her. So
mhm,
it was just leave her alone. You are not allowed to do that. You have zero, you have no power here type deal.
mhm,
Just saying prayers and kind of just putting it in this glass jar and locking it and just saying, you're going to be in here. That's it. This is whatever is attached to you. You're now stuck inside of here. Um, or else you're going to have to deal with Jesus in whatever way possible. Um, and I ended up putting it in this jar and just kind of leaving it outside. And the days after that, she felt a lot better.
mhm,
It was, she would kind of hear things, but then it wasn't scary anymore for her. She had no more fear over it. And I remember at the time people were saying, "Well, just get rid of it. Just get rid of it." And I was like, "Well, I don't know if that'll help."
right.
They also were saying, "Just burn it. Get rid of it." And I'm like, "I don't know if that'll help." Also, naively, I'm thinking in my head, I spent $30 on this thing. You know? Like that's just me being cheap, but
Right.
it's like I spent 30 bucks on this thing. um so I was like, I'm not just gonna get rid of it. If I can stop it, then I'll stop it. And I think it's locked away in a box now. I do want to get rid of it now
Mhm,
just because I want to let go of all these things. But um yeah, that one was one of the times where it was like very much so like I wasn't experiencing anything. I mean, when I was saying prayers over, the lights did flicker every now and then, but that
mhm,
could again, I could probably chalk that up to anything. Um, but that was a time where she was really scared. And even when I took her on investigations or anything like that, when I did do them, she would be the one who was very scared,
mhm,
very sensitive to these things, and she didn't like it at all. She would go just to kind of like support what
mhm.
I was doing, but every most of the things would happen with her. Like, so it'd just be like, okay, you don't got to do it anymore. You don't have to. Like, you're fine. You can step away from this stuff. Um, and yeah, then after that, nothing really has happened here. Um, outside of like just little noises that she'll hear, but that could be we're in a bigger place now and it's an
Mhm.
older place, so it's like creaking, things
Yeah.
like that. Um,
So when you bought
but
that
we've
cloth, did you know that it was haunted, or were you just buying it because
no,
it was this cool?
It
So
just we just thought it looked really nice.
so what? So because again, I think skeptics are going to say, "Oh, you bring a haunted object in, of course, like your fiance is going to then focus on that and be like, oh, that's evil
Yeah.
and that's spooky, because you've brought in a quote unquote haunted object." But if you're not even buying it because you think it's that, that to me is interesting that she's now like having this dream and like definitively pointing to this thing that you would not think. I mean, if it's a priest's, article of a ceremony, you wouldn't think like, oh, that's this evil thing that's scaring me. And so the whole psychosomatic thing sort of goes out the window with that, I think.
Yeah, because she thought it was beautiful. That was the
Yeah.
initial thing. I was just like, she really likes it. All right, I'll pay the $30. It's fine.
Right.
You know? Um, she just was like, "Oh, that's a really beautiful piece. I think that would look really cool with like the rest of the stuff that we have." And then it was just like not immediately as soon as we grabbed it. I
Hmm.
wasn't like, and then felt like whatever darkness like as soon as I touched it. Um, it just kind of waited, and we threw it into the room, and then boom,
Mm.
red in the middle of the night. You know, the classic 3 a.m.
Right,
witching
right.
hour like
Hmm.
thing. That's initially another thing that kind of like, no, that's too perfect of a timing. Like 3 o'clock in the morning. These things probably just clicked on their own. It's fine, you know.
Yeah, but
But
you start seeing the coincidences,
yeah,
and one you can ignore, two maybe you can ignore, but when you start seeing like a lot of coincidences, it makes you wonder, is this a coincidence? And I always say on my show, like our brains know when something is wrong, when something is
yeah,
off. Like we may not know what it is, but we always have that where you look at something and you're like, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something wrong about that photo or that picture or that song or like whatever it is. Like we just know sometimes and we can't pinpoint it, but you're just like, that's wrong. And again, when you have those coincidences, you're sort of saying like, oh, okay, like this could have easily happened at 2 in the afternoon, but like why 3 in the morning? Why, as
yeah,
it's like near these devil horns, like there's just these coincidences. And then she has this dream about this thing that in no way, shape, or form is in her mind as being haunted. And she's definitively saying it's that, get rid of it,
yeah.
like don't go to work. Like that's intense.
That's what made it real is the fact that she was just woke up crying,
Hmm.
which to me she's never done before.
Right.
So it's just her waking up crying, saying, I saw what it is. It's ugly. That's all she can describe it was, is that it's ugly and it's that thing.
Hmm.
That's it. So I was like, all right, whatever it is, I will take care of it. Yeah, and
Wow.
yeah, now it's more so just kind of, I mean, there were a few objects that I ended up finding, a weird art piece that kind of had like a demon Mothman looking creature kind of like etched into like this clay, which she also didn't like.
Hmm.
But in my head, I'm like, it's nothing. It's just cool. Like to me, it's
Right.
just cool art.
Hmm.
But I had to slowly understand that she was a little bit more sensitive to these things than I was. So now it's like, okay, you're afraid of it, no more. Like I won't take it as in like you're just being a baby, you know?
Right. Oh yeah, maybe she's sensing something you're not sensing.
Yeah. Especially after going on investigations with her, it's just I started to see that more and more, and it's
Hmm.
just her going into full blown panic attacks because of the high energy in certain areas, and it's
Hmm.
just like, okay, now I understand. I understand. I won't do it anymore. You're fine.
And did she have the interest in the ghost hunting as well, or she was just kind of tagging along to hang
She
out?
went
Or
along with the first one.
hmm.
The first one that we did, she went along. And it was very intense for her. Because went in there, no story told. I was just like, I don't want any preconceived notions on like what happens. I want to see what I get and then correlate it, like have just a conversation with the person after. And it was in this kind of old, it was a comic books store and an oddity shop
Okay.
together. And it was just the basement of it.
Mm.
And it just so happened, I really like the store. I'm big into comics. I get ton of comics, things like that. So I would go there all the time. And I told him, hey, I have a show, talk about paranormal things. You got a lot of cool stuff here. You mind if I gave you a shout out? And he was like, oh, you believe in ghosts? Because this place is haunted. Do you want to do an investigation here? And I was like, okay. So we
Wow.
go in there. Um, he's showing us around this giant basement full of a bunch of things. Um, in this crawl space area, there's blood on the wall, right? And I knew it was real blood because I can tell the difference between fake and then real blood. Like there's
Right,
this
right.
always this distinct kind of this look to it. And he's like, all right. And yeah, there's this table over here. And on the table, there's a Ouija board there. So, you know, they were like messing with stuff there. Um, and then a bunch of like cool things, old arcade systems, monster things that they made. They used to do like old punk shows
Oh,
down in the
okay.
basement. So there's like a
Hmm.
whole like little venue they had made. Um, so I'm like, all right, we'll just do this. And we're going around getting high EMF in certain areas. And I'm like, okay, there was this giant box that had paint all over it, handprints, symbols drawn all over it, and it was giving off high EMF. And I was like, that looks like an electrical box. That's what it is. Um, we step into that crawl space area with the blood on the wall, and immediately she's like, I don't like this.
Hmm.
I don't want to be in here. And I said, that's fine. I'll go. I'll go in. You don't have to. I don't want you getting too scared. We're having little things. I'm trying a bunch of things, trying spirit box, trying recordings. I have different cameras set up in certain areas. I'm using um has the stone on the end of like a string.
Oh, yeah.
Uh,
Not the dowsing rod.
somebody
That's
will know.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the name of it
Somebody
right
will
now.
know.
Somebody will know. We'll leave it in the comments
Yeah.
below.
Um, we're using that, and then we're starting to get some like pull in certain areas. Like it's actually moving, which was like weird to me. I was like, oh, okay, things are happening.
Hmm.
And at one point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into this crawl space area. You can record me from outside of the room. And then she's like, okay, I'm really starting to freak out. I'm really starting to freak out right here. I don't want to be here anymore. I don't want to be here. Can we be done? I don't want to be here. So I'm like, okay, all right, let's go. And I leave. What I do is I just leave a spirit box going in there and a camera on it
Hmm.
in that crawl space. And I'm like, we'll just set up. I mean, we'll break down everything and pack it all up. And as I'm packing everything up, it sounds like that spirit box is really going off. Like it's just stuff going through it at all time. And I'm like, I'm really getting like just really strong radio signals in this area. It just sounded like the radio was going
Hmm.
off, which that's what for those that don't know, the spirit box is just kind of scanning through stations really quick.
Hmm.
And so it sounded like that. And I was like, that's, if it's not the radio, cool. If it's like, if I play it back and it's all like the same voice, just kind of talking through it, then I know I got something. But then when I review the footage, like I do have video of me reacting to it really talking to the
Hmm.
spirit box in the crawl space area. But then when I reviewed the footage that I had the camera of the crawl space, it's pure static. There was no voices coming through at all.
Hmm.
So I was like, weird. That's really weird. So when we go up, talk to the guy, and I was like, all right, we're all done, you know. And then he starts to tell the story, and he had two friends there. There were these twin girls who ended up taking their own lives.
Hmm.
They didn't. It wasn't there that they did it. They did it somewhere else. But
Okay.
the basement was an area that they really like to hang out in,
Hmm.
and they were very prone to high anxiety and panic attacks. And they would run into that crawl space, and it's actually their one of their blood from their hand on the wall in
Hmm.
that crawl space. And when they went into panic attack, they would go into that area and just kind of sit in the dark. And that's where my fiance, was having
Hmm.
the high anxiety and panic
Anxiety.
attacks. And then we
Yeah.
ended up finding out that this box that I had high EMF from before wasn't an electrical box at all.
Hmm.
It was a cardboard box
Oh, wow.
that those two sisters had built and painted, and it's their handprints all over
Wow.
that box. And then from that point, she was like, I don't know. This really freaked me out. Um, During the last one, she had more fun, but
Hmm.
that one was definitely like where I noticed things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting that you're kind of noticing these things and trying to debunk them, which is what people should be
Yeah.
doing. You should be looking at these things and, even if the owner is like, yeah, this place is haunted, you got to kind of be like, well, yeah, it's a business. Is that your selling point, or is just that you're here late nights by yourself and you're getting freaked out, and that's just an electrical box? And for people who don't know, like high EMF, which is electromagnetic fields, that can cause you to hallucinate. So you
Yep.
can see things, you can hear things, you can smell things, or just sense things. Like you can just throw your like your instinct off. Like you could feel like you're being watched. You can feel like all sorts of things if you're sensitive to that and it's high enough. Um, so yeah, it's interesting that you're like, it's an electrical box, and then you find out, oh wait, it's just cardboard. There's like nothing
It wasn't
emitting
at all. Yeah.
any like any EMFs from a cardboard box. You're getting nothing. So very interesting. And the other thing that's interesting, like you said, you're hearing these voices, from the spirit box, and then when you play it back, you're getting static. And again, that's almost like the reverse of what most people get when they're ghost hunting. Like you're ghost hunting and
Yeah.
you're leaving a recorder there, and everyone's sitting around and saying, "Oh, can you tell us your name?" And you're not hearing anything. And you do that for 8 hours and you hear nothing. And then you go home and you listen to it. And then is like where you might hear a voice or footsteps or things that weren't there at the time. So that's an interesting turnout for you as well, that you're kind of hearing voices at the time and then the camera's just picking up static. So
Yeah. That
really,
one was really
really,
weird for me. Like,
yeah. And
I
we
was
know
like, I
what
know I
static
heard it.
is, like
Yeah.
it's just white noise. Like you're not going to hear voices in static really. Uh, so yeah, very, very, very cool story. Uh,
Yeah. Those are those things, like I said, that I started to notice for her.
mm-hmm,
Um, like I said, I've had my own experiences, but when you're, close with somebody and then they're experiencing all these things, you're really getting that outside perspective on like how these things affect somebody
mm-hmm,
and how they take it. Because for people who go on investigations all the time, sometimes it's just old hat. It's
mm-hmm,
just things that happen. Okay, mark that. We got a knock over there. Mark that. We got a voice over here. But for somebody who isn't really into like all these things and it genuinely scares them, it's like, oh, now I can see. Now I'm getting a whole new perspective on all of this.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, so it kind of changed the way I operated going forward.
Yeah, definitely. Did you do many more investigations of places? Did you have like a group or was it just on your own?
Mainly it was with me and her.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did things in California with my brother. We helped a friend with things that she was dealing with. Um, Never really able to break that one down just because her dogs were really smart and able to open doors. So it's like, um, but the last one that we did out here was in an old, like almost 100-year-old jailhouse, in this tiny little town where they have just donkeys roaming everywhere,
Oh,
you
okay.
know, right in the mountains, like a pocket in the mountains. And we go there, we're investigating. That time we went with a group, so I took my fiance, her sister, and then her sister's fiance. And he's never done any of those things. He's never been into that kind of thing. So at one point, we get something that says his name,
Mm.
and it's not a very common name. His name is Lane,
Oh, okay.
so it's not a very common
Right,
like
right.
name for, like you just pop up. And he was like, "No, that said my name," and it freaked him out. But during that time, I guess it for her it wasn't as scary because there's more people.
Hmm.
There's
Yeah,
there's more
yeah.
people there. It kind of takes away the fear. But we did have they gave us trigger objects such as like marbles. The prisoners like to play marbles there. We ended up leaving them downstairs while we were up in kind of the solitary confinement area, and we hear a noise, and I'm like, "What is that?" And then it clicks in my head, "Oh, it's marbles clacking together."
Oh, wow.
And then I'm like, "Wait, do we have the marbles with us?" And we check and we're like, no, we left them downstairs and they were clicking in the bag like they were moving
Oh, wow.
in the bag. And then we had also left a REM pod just kind of sitting in the other room, waiting until we went in there into
Hmm.
that other cell. And as we were leaving, I kind of forget about that REM pod and we're all walking past it. And then it just starts going off in that cell by itself.
Hmm.
Um, and you would think like, okay, if somebody was reaching for it, it would go off. You know, like if anybody was really around it,
Right.
it would go off. But it had been sitting there silent for
All
almost an
night.
hour
Yeah.
until we were leaving. And it was like, hey, don't forget me. Uh, then there was like a children's area, like mind you, children in prison. Okay, they had children in prison at this place. I think they said the youngest being 9 years old or something like that. That was
Wow.
in jail there. Um, and it was just for something kids do. So it's
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
a kid kind of just like grabbed a candy off of the counter and didn't really like whatever. But yeah, then we ended up going into the basement area, and the basement area had a cold area where it was like where they kept the bodies for anybody that passed
Mm.
away there. They would hold it there. And that's where we really got a lot of activity because it felt colder. We could have chalked that up to it being the basement and it's cold,
Mm, yeah, but
but it was weird pockets of
yeah.
cold, not like everywhere. And we have the REM pod there again, and it starts to go off. Um, and it's just continuing this long beep. And I go, okay, I don't know if anything is wrong with it, but I'm just going to reset it, kind of get it back to square one to check if anything is like wrong with it.
Hmm.
So I do it again. It's silent for a while. And I was like, all right, if you're here, just kind of, if you do this, you move your hand around it, it'll go off. And I kind of demonstrate it so that it knows. I don't know what type of spirit is there, you
Right.
know?
Right.
So it starts to go off again. And then I'm like, all right, if this is it, we're going to head out now. We're going to leave. And we're running the spirit box at the same time. And as I'm saying, we're all going to leave. That's it. We're going to leave. A voice comes through just saying, stay here.
Mm.
It's the same voice and I'll always take something that has the same voice, even if it's two syllables, which is stay here. It's not very many syllables there, but by that time in the spirit box, you've already passed by probably a good handful of stations to where it can't
Right.
be the same voice.
Right.
Um, and I'm like, okay, stay here. You want us to stay here? You're like, and those are the things that we were definitely getting voices and more noises, and it could be just for the fact of they do allow investigations there. They've had people like the Ghost Adventures crew
Hmm.
came and took over the whole town at
Oh
one point,
wow.
and it's a tiny town.
Yeah.
Um, but I was like, it could be just because it's like being fed this energy at all times that it's like, all right, they're just kind of holding there in this
Hmm.
moment just because they get people who talk to them and all this stuff. But that was the last one. And yeah, there hasn't been really much since.
Okay.
Um, I have had things happen where it comes down to not to myself, but
Hmm.
people who visit
Oh, okay.
in our old place because we just moved to this place probably May or March of last year. Um, no, this year, not last year. Um, but the place before, I'm in the guest room is where I recorded. And I did
Oh.
all of this. And anybody who stayed in that room had this dream or whatever it may be of me crawling into bed with them and laying next to them. They were like, um, another one was like her sister and her boyfriend were there, and her boyfriend tells me, "Why I swear I had a dream about you like crawling like between us and just laying down between us and like not saying anything and just laying down." And then again, my fiance's brother, one time, and this was the middle of the day. It wasn't at night. I picked him up from the airport.
Hmm.
He came. I dropped him off. I said, "You can just take a nap. You can chill in that room over there. I'm gonna head to work." And then he ends up telling my fiance, "Yeah, I had a dream that like Oscar just like crawled into bed next to me." And it's just like a thing that happened for people who stayed in that room for whatever reason. They would have a dream or something of me crawling into the room with them. And I was like, I don't know if it's because I talk about these things in
Hmm.
this room. Um, some people were like, well, you should do like a closeout, like whatever spirits came through during the talking of these things, whatever I call forward, you can leave. Don't stay here.
Right, right.
Um, but who knows? Yeah,
It
it's just
that
weird that it
yeah,
happened to
and
multiple people.
that's interesting, and that's like independent verification too, because it's not just like
Yeah,
one person, and my old apartment, we had a guest room, and it was the same thing. Like we'd have people stay over. Uh, my best friend, he stayed over a few times, and he's like, "I'm not coming back. Like weird stuff's happening in here." And then my brother would stay there sometimes, and then he was just like, "I'm not coming back." And then my ex-wife, who I was married to at the time, her brother stayed one night, and he was like not into paranormal. He didn't know about like, and none of these people knew about the other stories. And he stayed like one time, and like the next morning, he's waiting for a car service, and my ex was like, "Oh, if you ever want to like stay over again," and he's like, "Nah." He's like, "That room is weird." He's like, I felt weird all night, like I was being watched." And it
yeah,
was just interesting to us that all these different people who were not speaking to each other all said the same thing. Just the room felt like there was somebody in there with us, felt like there was somebody pacing in front of their front door. And a few people asked me, like, what were you doing last night? Same thing like with you. Like they thought you got in bed with them. And it was like, why were you walking back and forth in front of our door
yeah,
last night? And I was like, I wasn't. Like, we said goodnight and I never got out of bed. So I love those types of stories, like where you have that independent verification from different people in that same room, all kind of having
yeah.
the same experience. That's very cool.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, man. I mean, I love you, but not that much.
I
I
got
was
my
like,
own
how
bed.
does
I
that
don't.
work?
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, those are weird things that have happened. I mean, there were things. I don't know. I know I ramble when I talk about these things,
no, it's cool.
but there are outside of that, I've had UFO things that happen. I don't know if you have time for me to
Oh yeah,
share those
absolutely.
things,
Go
but
for it. Yeah.
so outside of the ghostly things that have happened, I mean, all that is weird in itself. But um, I used to live in Arizona
Hmm.
at a time, and all within even me just visiting Arizona, I've had three different kind of UFO like encounters.
Hmm.
One being younger, and it was this long stretch of road where I lived, and you would have to take this 30-minute long stretch of just desert to get to our small little town in Arizona. And I remember one time I'm just looking up at the sky, sitting in the back seat, kind of just gazing up, and what it looks like, kind of like a hole opens up in the clouds,
Hmm.
and something goes into it.
Wow.
And you're like, what just happened right now? In my head, at that time, I was like, did I just see an angel go up into heaven? Like that was my first initial
Right. Right.
thought. Because it just looked like this round thing kind of just going into this hole and then the clouds closing back up. Thought, weird, but all right. Maybe I'm tired. Who knows?
Yeah, but
Um,
that's.
Years go on, and um, I'm in high school at this time, and I'm hanging out with friends. We're kind of driving along that road again, and we start to see this light kind of just dancing around. And there are mountains around, and as people know, you have those towers with the
Hmm.
lights on them, so that planes can see where the mountains are. And but this light isn't like blinking and kind of just like staying in one spot. It's will blink, turn off, and then bounce down to another spot and go up
Hmm.
to another spot. It was just kind of dancing around the sky. And we're like, this is weird. What is it? Like it's not directly over the mountains. It's like in front of them a little bit. Like it's this weird light. And we're like, should we follow it? Should we go towards this light? Um, and we're like, everybody in there is like, yes, we're doing it. We're going towards this light. And we end up veering off of this one strip of road and going, now it's just desert road that we're riding on. And as we're getting closer to this light, each one of us starts to feel scared. Now
Mm,
something's starting to feel wrong. And we're like, do you feel that? Yeah, it doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't feel right anymore. Um, maybe we can turn around. Maybe, maybe we don't have to get right up to this light.
right.
We know it's weird. We know this light is weird dancing in the sky. So we're just going to flip right back around. And I just thought it was, at that time, I clocked it in my head as like, oh, we all felt fear at the same exact time. Whatever it was, we all felt who knows what it could have been, really. But it's like we all felt scared and thought, nope, whatever bravery we had has now subsided and we can turn back around and go home.
And that's a weird thing to get afraid of, all
Yeah.
collectively, because it's just lights. It's not like you see, you come across a cabin in the woods. Oh, let's go inside. Like that is tangible. That's like right there.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's 10 feet from us. We can go inside. The lights in the sky, like, yeah, you may get closer to them, but you're not going to fly. I mean, you're in a car and these things are up in the sky. Like, as close as you get, you're still not getting very close to them. So you would think, like,
Yeah.
because the few things I've seen in the sky, I'm like, oh, I want a better look at that. I never got that sense of like, oh my god, like I need to get away. So that's strange. And again, that all four of you kind of had that at the same time.
Yeah. And it could have been like there's a mountain there and it was kind of just our town's kind of urban legend
Hmm.
of there's a witch that lives on M Mountain. We would call it M Mountain. We are like, there's a witch that lives there.
Okay.
And we were near M Mountain. So we are like, I don't know if that kind of clicked in our head at the same time,
Hmm.
but either way, we all felt the same amount of fear to make us all want to turn around and not want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
I remember we still, like to this day, everybody will still remember that just
Hmm.
because it's the middle of the desert. There's really no houses in that area at all. The only source of light would be those towers that kind of let the planes know.
Hmm.
And another few years went by, and now I live in California. And I would drive the 6 hours every once in a while to go hang out with my friends in Arizona. Um, and one time my brother went with me. We drove there, hung out, driving back, and he's he's supposed to be awake to keep me awake as we're driving in the middle of the night in the desert. Um, and the road is two lanes, a large dirt median in the middle, and then two other lanes going the opposite way. Um, we're driving through, we go past the town, and then it's a long stretch of nothing, just darkness. And I start to see again this light dancing around, and I'm in my head, I'm thinking, there's a prison nearby. There's the signage that says "Do not pick up hitchhikers
Right.
anywhere." Um, which side note, I have picked up hitchhikers along the side of that road before,
No.
and it wasn't a great experience because they smelled really bad. But that's besides the point. Um, uh, but I see this light, and I'm trying to figure out, could this be a helicopter? Something searching for somebody. Now I got to keep my eyes peeled for see if anybody's going to run across the road. And as I'm trying to figure it out, I'm trying to wake up my brother at the same time. Like, dude, wake up. Dude, I need you to look at this with me.
Right,
Help
right.
me figure out what it is. Or at least look to see if anybody's going to run across the road. Um, and as I kind of just have this slight glance of turning to kind of hit him to wake him
Hmm.
up and then turning back, now this light is coming straight down from the sky and going straight towards the car to the
Oh,
point where
geez.
I instinctively, I just swerved to the side, and thankfully, no car was on the other side of me. So I swerved to the side, and then my brother wakes up, and he's like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "You didn't see that? You didn't see that right now? You tell me you saw this right now." And I'm at the same time, I'm looking in the rearview mirror and kind of like turning over to look behind me, because my first thought was somebody, the light turned off or something, and then now there was a car driving on the
Right,
road. That's what
right.
my brain is kind of piecing together. And I think somebody's driving the wrong way on the freeway. That's not good. I look behind me. There are no tail lights going out. I don't even see, because even if I didn't see tail lights, I could still see the light from their
Yeah,
headlights,
you would see something.
um, driving the opposite way, and nothing. It was just this light came down from the sky, shot straight towards the car. I swerved, looked behind me, nothing,
Hmm.
nothing there anymore. And that was one of those moments where I was like, my brain broke.
Yeah.
I was like, what just happened right now? And still to this day, I have no idea what it could have been. I still in my head, I'm like, no, it was a helicopter that I looked at, and somebody was driving the wrong way on the freeway.
Did you hear
That's the way that
anything?
makes it feel better. No, nothing. Heard
Silent.
no sound.
Wow.
Yeah,
So even if it was a drone, you would have heard, because those are loud. Like people
yeah,
don't realize, but drones are loud. Like they have propellers and they make
yeah.
noise. So, um,
And
yeah,
mind
very,
you, this was
very
probably, I would say, I want to say 2013, maybe.
okay.
So it's
So,
like drones weren't like as readily as like being used as like they are now.
right, right.
Um, but I again, the police, the prison was in that area. They could be using anything to kind of make sure nobody's leaving.
Yeah,
But
but again, like you said, you'd think that such a bright light coming at you, you'd see it behind you. It would be reflecting on like you would see something. Maybe not as
yep.
intense, but you would see a light, especially out in the desert. You're out in this not desert, but more barren
Yeah, and there was
area.
no lights.
Yeah.
I mean, there it was the sparse kind of lights that would light up the road.
Hmm.
But the only light you have is the moon and your headlights,
Yeah.
which is why it felt so much more intense for this like bright light. And this was again way before everybody had LED lights on their cars,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it was just a very bright white light that enough to make me scared, like I was going to hit somebody and just swerve the other way.
Hmm.
And I don't know what it was.
Very strange. Unidentified, so a UFO. I would call
Yeah.
it a UFO.
Yeah, I've had somebody say, um, do you think there's any correlation between the things you would see during sleep paralysis, like during those moments? Do you think that has anything to do with like things you would see in the sky? And I was like, don't do that to me.
Yeah.
Don't put those to, don't do it because all you're gonna do is like rattle my brain
Yeah.
more and
Yeah.
more.
Um, no, I think certain people are just more open to things and more
Yeah,
observant. I think if you're into these sort of things and you've had weird experiences, you're more uh, in tune with them when they do happen. So a skeptic or someone who's just not into this at all, they'll see a light in the sky and it's not going to catch their attention because even if it, like I said, kind of niggles in the back of their brain where it's like, that's not right, they don't pay much attention to it because they're just like, oh, it's a plane. It's a light in the sky. It's a plane. There is no paranormal. There is no UFOs. There's no ghosts. There's no Bigfoot. It They don't pay attention to it. But other people like us who are a little bit more into this stuff, we're going to pay more attention to that little bit of instinct that says that light, it's not a plane. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this figure walking down the hall. Pay attention to this
yep,
darkness coming in the room. Whereas again, the average person who is a skeptic or is not a believer or just isn't interested in this is going to just chalk it up as, oh, that was my eye playing tricks on me. That was this, that was that. And they just ignore it. And then they don't really see
yeah,
what it
yeah,
does become, because if you do see that light and you go back in the house, you're never going to see that it now bounces around or shoots off or does something strange. But if you're looking at that and saying, hey, wait, that's not a plane, and you wait 10 minutes and it does something weird, now you've had that experience. So,
yeah. I think
yeah.
we're more prone to pay attention to what seems a little off, what seems a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that I think more so nowadays. I think we're kind of that's why I like to have people sharing their stories, and like having conversations like this between two
Hmm.
people who have experienced these things. Because now we're in an age where AI videos are kind of muddying the waters
Oh yeah.
when it comes to any type of these things, and you kind of it's like that's going forward, but we are now going back to we'll just stick to storytelling then. We'll just stick to sharing our stories with each other.
Yeah, and
Um,
that's, people have said to me like, "Oh, look at this video, looks so," and I'm like, "Look, unless I know the person and they come to
yeah,
me and say, if my dad comes to me and says I took this video, I will believe it. Anybody else on the internet, like
yep,
it could be the best looking video in the world. For me, it's just like with all the editing tools and AI, I'm not going to believe. I'm sorry, it could look very impressive, but I'm not going to believe it because you just don't know who's hoaxing something, who's manipulating it.
yep,
And like I said, unless it's coming from a source on their phone and they're like, yes, I took this yesterday, then I might believe it. But something posted on the internet, yeah, the AI is like ruining that.
yeah. I had a conversation with Sam Sheeran,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I was telling him we now are separated from that kind of age of trying to differentiate between pareidolia and hoaxes to now it's just straight up AI
Mm-hmm.
videos. And because we're so inundated with CGI and how much AI is kind of influencing so much things, it's like nobody can tell the difference anymore.
Right.
So now if something is legitimate, they're like, nope, I can't take it. I
Yeah.
can't take your word for it. But because at least with a hoax, there was some sense of creativity behind it. Like you
Right.
had to really work hard at it. But now
Oh
it's
yeah.
just like a different ball game.
Yeah. You
And I
plug in a
think,
prompt to chat GPT and there's your video, there's your
yeah,
photo, there's your, so yeah, the stories are really where it's at. I think you just got to
yep,
focus on people's personal experiences and what they've seen and because if they're telling you that they saw this with their own eyes, it's not a video they're seeing on Facebook or on X or, TikTok, because people are going to hoax things because they want the clicks, they want the hits, they want
yep,
the interaction, and they want to become the influencers. And oh, look, my video's gotten 40,000 hits. Okay, well, it's fake as shit, So that's great that you got these hits, but it's clearly AI, it's clearly a hoax. So what have you really accomplished? It's just weird.
yeah, yeah. So that's why I appreciate things like this. Like
Yeah.
I don't really get to talk about my stories too much when I do my show.
Hmm.
As we do these things, we kind of
Right.
share little bits of things. But I appreciate people like you, other people who do the same thing, where it's just we're sharing these stories, we're keeping that kind of the wonder of these things, to ask questions and all these things to keep that part alive, to where it's like, okay, the way this person is talking about their story,
Hmm.
I can tell they really feel something about it. Whether they're, I always tell people it's not my place to judge on if your story is real or not.
Right.
I'm just basing it off of what you're telling me and how sincere you sound.
Right.
That's it. That's it. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about it all.
Yeah, and I love like hearing when people like you tell a story and it's like, oh wait, someone else told me a story very similar to
Yep.
that. And like you don't know this person and they don't know you. So what are the chances that you're coming up with the same story? And this happens a lot to me where I'm just like, hey, this reminds me of so and so from this episode, or that reminds me about this story that I read on Reddit. Like people are having these experiences and that's why it's great to share them, because then there is that sense of connection of like, oh, that happened to you too, or I know somebody that
Yep.
that also happened to. So it's great to just keep that going and to share those things, and like you said earlier, to provide a safe space for people to
Yeah.
uh and again, like you, I don't necessarily believe everybody hook line and sinker. Like I believe maybe that they believe they saw what they say they saw, but does that mean it was a ghost? Does that mean it was actually an alien spacecraft?
Yeah.
It could have been a military craft. It could have been something really weird. It doesn't mean it was alien. Doesn't mean it was extraterrestrial. Doesn't mean it was Bigfoot. Doesn't mean it was a ghost. But you saw something weird, you had something weird happen to you. And that's the great thing about this is like try to explain it and you start eliminating, well, it couldn't have been this, it couldn't have been that. And the more you kind of eliminate, the more you're kind of left with this core of it's unexplained. So possibly paranormal.
Yeah, plus it's it keeps, like I said before, it keeps that wonder, keeps the wonder of what is going on in this world alive. Because at a certain point, it's like nobody really asks questions anymore. It's like it's weird for
Yeah.
people to now they need that 30-second or a minute long TikTok video to kind of gather their information. Nobody really wants to dive into it for themselves anymore.
Right.
I think these types of things also provide that in the sense of like, okay, where did they get their information? Oh, these people have different information. Oh, and it's just you're just sharing all these things together. Um, so
Yeah. And that's
we
that
got to
sense
keep that
of,
alive.
yes, definitely. And I've said that before too, that like science has kind of lost that, like mainstream science. They're just kind of like, oh, we know everything. We don't, it doesn't matter that
Yeah,
thousands or hundreds of thousands of people are seeing something in the woods or seeing something in the skies or having weird things happen in their homes. Like, no, we know everything. It's clear, there's no such thing as ghosts or UFOs or Bigfoot or whatever it is. And there's not that sense of wonder anymore where if you investigate it, it doesn't mean you're believing it. It's just saying, like, well, why are these people having paranormal experiences? Why are they seeing things in the sky? Why are they all seeing the same thing?
yep,
You talk about UFOs. It's the same three or four types of craft. Paranormal experiences. It's all very similar. Bigfoot. Like no one's going out and saying I saw a dragon in the woods, or I saw a unicorn, or I saw a leprechaun. They're saying I saw a big hairy person. So even if Bigfoot doesn't exist, why is everybody across the globe? It's not just in the United States.
yeah,
It's people all over the world are seeing this thing. So that in itself is just worth looking into. Whether you
yeah.
believe in
I think
Bigfoot,
even those like weird stories, like you said, of like an elf or something like that. I remember when I first had somebody share a very nonchalant dogman
mhm,
encounter. It was very much so. I don't know how else to explain it, man. It was a wolf walking across the road, and then by the time it hit the end of the road, it stood up on two legs and continued walking the other way. That's all that happened. That's how he explained it to me, and I was like, "Well, you sound very sincere about it, and it definitely sounds like very straightforward. You're not embellishing anything."
right,
Now I want to know.
right, right, and that's like you said, that sense of
Yeah,
wonder. You have to have that
yeah,
curiosity to say what makes a grown, intelligent human being go on to a podcast and say, "Yeah, I saw a wolf cross the road and then it stood up and walked away like a man." Like,
yeah,
why? And you're not getting money for this. You're not, there's where's the payoff of lying about that? So did they actually see that? I don't know, but they think they saw it. They're sincere. So yeah, you have to be open to that.
yeah, yeah. That's what it's all about.
Yes, I agree. All right, man. So before I let you go, do you have any other stories you want to share or uh
I think those are. I mean, I haven't hit the paranormal trifecta, of ghosts, UFOs, and then cryptid.
right.
Um, so I mean, you came onto my show and shared yours, and I was like very, very jealous at a certain point of that. But I'm like also maybe not so jealous. Uh, but yeah, we'll see if that ever happens. I'll definitely let you know.
Yes, Steph, please do. Please do.
But yeah, so
Uh,
far it's only been the paranormal things, mainly sleep paralysis, things that have happened, um, and the UFO things,
yeah,
weird UFO things.
but very cool stories though,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you letting me like share them.
Oh yeah,
I
absolutely.
know it starts to sound like rambling a little bit
No, not
because I
at
don't
all. I
really get to
mean,
talk
but
about it, but
that's storytelling. That's,
yeah,
we want to hear people ramble. You want to hear people get into their stories and tell the details. And so, yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, if you do ever see anything else you want to come back on, let me know. Um,
no, 100%.
yeah. But in the meantime, just let everybody know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, I'm really bad at keeping up on TikTok, but you can find
Me
me
too.
there. Facebook, YouTube, all under the same thing. I try to make it really easy. You just got
Yeah.
to look up Induced Fear and it'll be there. Um, and for those that are listening and watching, I always tell people just always ask questions and face those fears. That's like my main takeaway for people to know.
Hmm.
It's like whether they go and talk to you about these things or talk to me, um, share your stories. It's a
Yeah.
main thing. Just
It's
don't
all
be
good.
afraid to share your stories.
Yeah,
But yeah, you
exactly.
can find us on everything
Yeah,
with that.
cool. And I'll put links to all your stuff in the description so people can find you that way too. But yeah, you type in Induced Fear and you will find Oscar and his show and his socials. So thank you again, my friend. I appreciate you coming on. This was awesome. And
Yeah, I appreciate
we
you.
yeah, yeah, anytime. And we will talk again, I'm sure. Either
Yes,
I'm
we
on
will,
your
my
show,
friend.
you're on
Yes,
my
we
show,
will.
or we're both on someone else's show.
We'll make it
Yeah,
happen.
we'll make it happen. Yeah. All right, man. Thanks again. I appreciate it.
All right.
All right, have a
Thank
good one.
you.
Yeah, anytime.
You too.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye. All right, everybody. I want to thank Oscar for coming on the show. He's an awesome podcaster, friend of mine. Like I said, I was on his show a few months back, and we kind of talk on social media a lot, like each other's stuff. He's got a great show, so go check him out. All his links will be down below in the description, so you can find his podcast. But yeah, he's a great interviewer, does some great stuff, and I just love his approach. It's very similar to mine. I say question everything. He's ask questions, uh, but we both believe in that. You have to question things. It doesn't mean we don't believe. It just means we're trying to get to the truth. So, yeah, so that was awesome. If you guys have any encounters with Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, anything you want to come on the show, you just want me to know about, Jason at oddanduntold.com. I will get back to you as soon as possible. I'm having some issues with my email lately, so please bear with me if I'm a little bit delayed. Sometimes I open up my email and things come in like half an hour later, but they were actually sent 3 days ago. So it's just weird. I check it every day, and sometimes emails just come in late, and I'm getting it on a Wednesday, and I see that it was sent on a Sunday. So just very strange. I'm hoping to fix that. So just please bear with me. But until next time, everybody, again, question everything. Embrace the weird. We're all weird. Embrace it. Rock and roll.